Hello, Hawks fans, and welcome to another episode of the Atlanta Sports District. I am your host, Russell Spence, and this is episode 2. So far, we are one day away from having Hawks basketball, but tonight there is NBA basketball that matters. These games that are being played tonight are the first of the NBA season, 2 different games being streamed on NBC and Peacock. I will be tuning in. I watch pretty much all the national slate games, especially on days where the Hawks don't play. Sometimes it's hard for me to see both. Time and scheduling and things can make it difficult. But if the Hawks aren't playing, I'm usually watching the national slate game. Today, I actually wanted to discuss the Dyson Daniels Extension. We have just received today the official information about the extension. Dyson is going to make $25 million a year flat over the 4 years of that contract. So let's get into it. Dyson Daniels has only played for the Hawks for 1 season. He was traded to us from the New Orleans Pelicans in the DeJounte Murray trade. A trade that, looking back on it, was an absolute steal for the Hawks. I mean, we gave up DeJounte and we got back Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance, and a pick. All of that combined was for one player that now I and a lot of other people in the NBA's media circle and inside the NBA have discussed that Dyson Daniels, just that one piece, is better and more valuable of a piece and an asset than DeJounte Murray. So we gave up just DeJounte, and we got back a piece that was more valuable than him, plus a few other things. We also got EJ Liddell and all of that extra stuff that was very well publicized, I'll say. But it's very amazing to me that we were able to acquire Dyson Daniels and get off what I always thought was more of a negative asset beside Trae Young, to receive the guy I said in yesterday's video that I think is the best possible backcourt partner you could have in the whole NBA alongside Trae Young. To have that guy coming in and being added to our roster while also getting rid of a negative asset next to Trae Young was a wonderful trade. That being said, we get him in here, we immediately put him into our starting lineup, and the first thing he does is break the deflections record, have the most steals and most stocks by a guard since 1990. I think it's Alvin Robinson was the last time somebody had the kind of guard defensive season that Dyson Daniels had in his first true season as a starter in the NBA. I believe that he was robbed of the Defensive Player of the Year. That's an award they usually give to big men, to posts. I understand that. I'm not saying that anyone else that was up for the Defensive Player of the Year or who won it is not deserving of a lot of praise. They're great defensive players. But in my opinion, the person who had the most value out of any defensive player in the whole NBA last year was Dyson Daniels, when you exclude that Victor Wembanyama was not healthy and was not eligible for the award because he missed too many games. I think Dyson Daniels, as I said yesterday, is the best defender on the planet. He is a havoc creator. He absolutely shuts things down. You can't run an action. You can't be reckless with the ball. You can't be loose. You have to be on your P's and Q's, crossing your T's and dotting your I's every time that Dyson Daniels is on the floor. With all of that happening and him being so amazing and having this great season, and also taking a huge leap forward in his offensive production because his minutes were so much higher, he's playing alongside such an amazing play creator in Trae Young. With that being the case, he won the Most Improved Player Award in the 2024-2025 NBA season. To me, that said that this player's going to require a lot of money to retain. And I knew he was coming up for a contract extension. I thought it was going to be similar in financial structure to a Jalen Suggs or a Jalen Johnson's contract. And quite honestly, I didn't know if Jalen was worth that money. A defensive-oriented player is commonly not paid what an offensive-oriented player is paid. But we got him on a 4-year, $100 million deal, paying flat across the 4 years, so $25 million a year. I have a list here of just all the NBA salaries that he's in comparison to. So I took from people like maybe around less than $5 million less than him, and less than $5 million more than his contract. And I'm just going to read them off and just say, how many of these guys would you rather have Dyson Daniels on that number? I mean, we've got people like Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Miles Bridges, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, Naz Reid, Jabari Smith, Jonathan Kuminga, DeAndre Hunter, Fred VanVleet, Giddey, DeMar DeRozan, Jaden McDaniels, Miles Turner, Trey for the Third, Devin Vassell, Draymond Green, Jarrett Allen, Isaiah Hartenstein, and RJ Barrett. Those are the people that are in line to be within a $5 million range on either side to Dyson Daniels. I look at that list and I see a lot of people that I would not rather have than Dyson Daniels. Maybe if you needed a specific role, like if you needed a point guard who could really pass, who could take Josh Giddey or Fred VanVleet. If you needed a big man, maybe Miles Turner. But there are very few people on this list. I mean, I look and I can see Jaden McDaniels is probably a guy similar to Dyson Daniels, but I don't think he's even better or any better, and Dyson makes less money than him per year. In fact, Jaden McDaniels is on an ascending contract. So Dyson is flat, and Jaden McDaniels, his contract is backloaded. So when we're still paying Dyson Daniels $25 million a year, the Minnesota Timberwolves will be paying Jaden McDaniels $29.8 million per year. That is going to be a pretty decent little percentage more of the cap than what we'll be paying Dyson Daniels. So you pay for it a little bit in the now, because he could have made like $22 million if you had backloaded it this year. But with it being flat, you're actually a little bit better in terms of the later part of the contract, in terms of the salary cap adjustment. In general, I think this is a wonderful deal on both sides. You see, for one part of the equation, you're looking at the Hawks side. You're getting a player that I said yesterday is perfect next to Trae Young for very little money for his value. I mean, he just broke the record, shattered the record for deflections. And I think that when you look at the number he's on and the number he's going to be on as the cap continues to go up, I mean, our projections have the cap going up kind of exponentially over the next few years. I think that contract is going to be a very large positive. I don't think it's as good of a contract as like Onyeka took or like Jalen took. I thought those were absolute A++. No way for anybody to argue that that's negative money. Maybe if Dyson had a couple of injuries and lost a step defensively and didn't develop at all on the offensive end, by the end of the contract, you might say this is not a great deal, but I don't think there's any way that someone could say it's negative money. I still don't think the Hawks have a negative contract on their whole books. Any contract that they have, I think, can be seen as a positive or at least neutral. For years we had like the John Collins contract, the DeAndre Hunter contract, that were negatives. Even DeJounte Murray's contract was not a true positive, let's say. I think he was being paid more than his value. We don't have that. Even if we give Trae a large number when his contract extension does happen, that will not be a negative contract because he gives that kind of value offensively. I think the Atlanta Hawks have set themselves up to be able to move forward with this Trae Young-centric roster, that we won't have to go deep into the luxury tax like you see some other teams do with very inconsistent results. I mean, a lot of times you look and you see like the Phoenix Suns of the past few years were super high up there in payroll, and the team was terrible because big money doesn't exactly mean big wins. Big money doesn't mean most talent. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder just won the championship with one of the lowest payrolls in the whole NBA because they understand what's valuable, what wins games, and how do you build around your stars. I think the Hawks are moving in that direction, and this is just another example. The Dyson Daniels contract, give it an A. It's a great deal for the Atlanta Hawks this year. And he's still on his previous contract this year. This doesn't kick in until the 2026 season. And so all those numbers I read, all those people were the 2026 season. For Dyson, it's also great because when this contract ends, he'll be like 27 or 28 going into free agency, where as long as he's continued to play like this, he will get another very large contract in his life. I mean, I know these are people who make millions of dollars, and $1 million is money that most people will never see. But $100 million in the NBA grand scheme of things isn't a huge contract. So for Dyson, you could think, well, he could have gone for so much more money and he could have taken it into restricted free agency. But as a human being, you can look at it logically and say, $100 million is life-changing money. I'll never be able to spend that. And I'm not taking a 5-year deal. I'm not taking a super long deal. I'm just taking this 4 years. I'm going to get out of it when I'm 27. I'm going to go into free agency and I can get another over $100 million contract. That kind of momentum, that kind of movement is really smart. And it shows that Dyson's brain and headspace is in the right place. You know, he's not worried about, DeAndre Ayton. He said, I'm just looking to get to that second contract. I'm looking to get that second contract. And since he's been given that second contract money, you've seen a huge dip in how hard he works and how hard he plays on the defensive end, how hard he rebounds. He got that money and he was good. With this move by Dyson, it shows me that he understands that I can make life-changing money and I can work to get it again. And that kind of effort and that kind of thought process is something that you love to see in players you're building around in your coming future for your organization. I think Dyson's a great guy. Every interview I see, he's seems very kind. He seems funny. He's got that accent that everybody loves. And I just think that when you're building around a team, you need guys like this. You need guys who work hard, who understand who they are, who understand what they're going for, and are not financially driven, aren't personal goals driven. They're winning driven. When you watch Dyson Daniels play, you see a winning driven player, and I'm really excited to see how the Hawks can continue to develop him and will win alongside him. The next thing I'd like to talk about is this offseason. I was concerned when we fired Landry Fields. I thought that Landry Fields was doing a wonderful job. We saw him make the DeJounte Murray trade that I've already discussed. I thought he was moving the team in a good direction. I liked most of the moves that I saw from Landry Fields. You know, we signed Onyeka's contract while Landry was here. There was a few other moves that I was very pleased with how we were going. And I thought we were going to continue to move in the direction of having Landry Fields as our general manager. Obviously, that wasn't the case. Landry Fields was let go at the beginning of this offseason, and I was pretty livid about that. I thought he deserved a shake than that, but Tony Ressler did not agree. I'm not the biggest Tony Wrestler guy. I don't think he's a wonderful owner. I think that he does some tax avoidance that I've never enjoyed. That being said, letting go of Landry Fields and hiring Onsi Saleh, or promoting Onsi Saleh, he was already in our organization. That seems like the best thing we have done in a very long time in all of Atlanta sports. He is awesome. So far, when I listen to him talk, I see a guy who has his mindset in the direction that I think that the team should be going. He says all the right things, and he backs those talks and those words up with actions. He has, just going through the things he's done this offseason, he's gotten Dyson to sign this amazing extension. That's great. But also, he made the trade for Kristaps Porzingis. He signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He signed Luke Kennard. He was able to use his star to communicate with those players about how wonderful it is to play in Atlanta. That's something that's very undervalued, is that he was like, hey, we like this player, Trey, go talk to them. And Nickeil said one of the big reasons why he was interested in coming to Atlanta was the way that Trae Young talked about Atlanta. That kind of support from your star player is really important, and it's something we have not used in the past to get players to come play for the Hawks. We have not been a free agent destination. But now, this year, we have been. Two of the bigger guys on the market came to Atlanta. That's not a small feat. We traded for Kristaps. We get those two players in. We have this wonderful Dyson extension. We absolutely fleece the New Orleans Pelicans in a trade that could get us a hugely valuable pick next year in a draft that people are calling generational. We've got 3 players that could go number 1 in most drafts. I think that Onsi Saleh has had not just a home run of an offseason, but like 3 grand slams in one game kind of offseason. I think that Onsi Saleh is solidifying himself as kind of what I think about Alex Anthopoulos for the Atlanta Braves. A guy you will make retire a Brave, or a guy you will make retire a Hawk. There's no regulation on what you're allowed to pay your general manager. That's not a thing. You can pay whatever he wants. You can sign into whatever contract. It's super valuable to have a guy like this in the building, a guy who has the cap in mind, a guy who understands the CBA, a guy who makes smart decisions building around his superstar and using the talents of that superstar to propel the team forward. I think that this is a guy that we cannot let leave. If I was Tony Wrestler and anybody else tried to sign him, or he wanted another contract, or whatever it takes, make Onsi Saleh an Atlanta Hawks lifer. Have that guy be your general manager until the day he retires. You listen to what people talk about league-wide about Onsi Saleh, they could not be more effusively positive about the person, the tactician, the basketball mind, and the overall manager of talent that Onsi Saleh is. Everybody that talks about him talks about how great he is. If you have a dude like that in your building, do everything you can to keep him. That's all I really have on this situation. I think that with the Dyson Daniels extension, seeing how positive it was, I project that the Trae Young extension will also get done sooner rather than later. I think that, that report came out that said it's not going to happen before the season starts. I don't care. there's not a deadline. As long as he signs an extension before he goes into free agency, it doesn't matter when he signs it. There's no deadline at all. I think we're going to get a deal done. And from what I've seen from Onsi Saleh, I think that deal will be a great positive to the Atlanta Hawks organization. So, in closing, as I've said, the Dyson Daniels extension was a great deal for the organization. This offseason has been a great deal for the organization. The promotion of Onsi Saleh has been a great deal for the organization. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all of the YouTube things to help support this channel. I plan on bringing comprehensive coverage of everything that happens for the Atlanta Hawks this year. I don't really dive into rumors. I don't care about that sort of thing, but if it actually happens and it actually matters for the Hawks, I will talk about it. I'll give you my thoughts, opinions, musings on the sports world. So if you want to hear some guy who just really loves the Atlanta Hawks talk about the Atlanta Hawks, please join in for every video. It's great to have you, and have a wonderful day.